Welcome back. I do not need another camera, but these particular bad boys, A, they're Nikon, which I love, and B, they're old school CCD powerhouses, so I had to get one. Well, I didn't get one, I ended up getting two, but you'll see why. The Nikon d1x. d1x. Now the d1x, should you purchase this camera? Well, we're going to go through a few reasons why 100% absolutely yes, in 2003 you should purchase this camera, but a whole bunch of reasons why you really shouldn't. More about the d1x's then. The d1x's followed the d1. Now this is a 6 megapixel CCD film-like sensor camera. So, as everybody knows, the CCD vibe is super popular right now. I mean, I personally love the colors that come out of this camera. When you take a shot compared to my CMOS other Nikon cameras, this image that comes out of this camera it just hits different. For me, I mean, I'm not a professional. I'm an amateur enthusiast, a pretty heavy amateur enthusiast. So I shoot a lot of pictures, and the ones I get from my CCD Nikons, I just prefer and I love. Okay then, so the D1X built upon the D1, which was released and took the market by storm. The D1, this is my D1, it stopped working. It intermittently works. It works when it wants to. I don't have a battery in it right now. I've got some spare bits taped to it, but my D1 was a good camera when it worked, but right now it's given up the ghost. So the D1X then, 6 megapixels, was like 2.74 larger than the D1. The D1X also had a variable color interface, which was added, so professionals loved it back in the day. And if you just look at this camera, it is an absolute beast. It feels so good in the hand. So I can shoot from this direction, or I can shoot from this direction, which is wonderful. So this was a high-end professional camera. When it was released, I think the ticket price was like $10,000. That's big money. $10,000 in today's money is about $2 billion. These cameras set the price for DSLRs. These cameras changed the market. These are the ones that killed the SLR market. They began to kill film. You got something like 5 frames per second. It might be 3 frames per second. So it shoots super fast, and it has a 9-shot buffering system. What does that mean? It means that I can shoot 3 shots a second for 3 seconds, and then it buffers and start buffering, which means it's saving the images to the CF card, which is built in. The CF card then, you just open this flap, push the button, and then the flap opens, which I love. A little trapdoor of my CF cards inside there. Back in the day, the CF cards were hundreds of dollars. Hundreds of dollars. These days, my 2 gigabyte card, which I have in here, was probably, I don't know, 3-4 cents. It ranges between 10 and 50 bucks. I just stick to the lower end ones, and it seems to work with these cameras. Operating the camera then. The bit you want to hear. Listen to the shutter speeds. It's insane. Turn the camera on. You want to listen and look for the numbers at the top. You can see I have a full charge on the battery. This is on continuous. Listen to this. You hear that? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And the images will display on the back on my tiny little 2-inch something LCD screen. Now, yeah, I know that the screen on the back is tiny, but back in the day, you guys, just after the 90s, you had an LCD screen. So you could see what's going on. That is huge. It completely took the market by storm. Photographers could now see what they were doing on their screens. So should you buy this camera? Yes. Here's why. It's awesome. It feels great in the hand. This one cost me $25, listed as not working. It works 100%. This one cost me $40, listed as not working. It works 100%. The 6 megapixel CCD sensor creates beautiful images. Have a look at these. User interface, super simple. We have a dial on the back for the ISO and then a dial on the front for my aperture. You can switch those out. Left, we have an ISO setting, bracketing, and then a button for our flash. Menu functions can be accessed in this bottom little flap here. And then the wheel on the back is super tactile. The D1X will accept a DC in. That's important because here's the thing, you guys. This is why you should really stop and consider before you buy this camera. These batteries are $40 each. $40 each. This is a Nikon EN4. It takes forever to charge, and then the D1X is a thirsty beast. If this battery is not all the way charged, when it loses like 25 to 30% of its charge, the D1X notices. And at lower percentage or lower voltages on the battery, he will not fire. You'll see a display on the top. You'll see that you have power. It'll tell you half power or quarter power, but you will not be able to fire the shutter. Another reason why you should really consider before you buy this camera. The battery charger. If you can find a battery charger for this camera, it's going to cost you upwards of $125. $40 for the battery, $125 for the charger, $165 before you've even started. Now, I was lucky. I had a charger lying around. It came with another bunch of stuff, so it works. I also have a DC in, so that works also. But for you, if you buy the D1X, you could be into it for upwards of $220 for a 6 megapixel, 22-year-old camera, 21-year-old camera. I don't know if it's worth it for you guys. I just don't know. And it's in my collection. I'm never going to sell it, and I have a spare. Another good way to use this camera is use the DC in. Stick it in your studio. If you're doing portraits or still life or whatever, stick it in the studio, plug it in, and then you can use it to your heart's content. Two alternatives then that you should consider. Because if you think this was, say, $200 in for this whole lot, which is a lot. So two alternatives. People hate this camera. I don't know why. This is the D100. This camera, I take everywhere. I just went and did a street shoot the other day. I took this camera, wonderful. Did not let me down. Fast shutter speed, super clear images, CCD sensor. It's wonderful. The D100 sells for like $50. Consider the D100 over the D1X. In my opinion, another great alternative. This is the one I would say get. If anything, go for this. This is the Nikon D200. This is probably my favorite camera from that era. The D200, still a CCD sensor. This has an added battery pack, but if you take the battery pack off, it's super light. I just like shooting the camera this way for my Instagram shots. This one has a Sigma art lens on it. I use this for like close-ups, portraits, etc. But yeah, this camera is something that I would fully recommend. And it still has a pretty good shutter speed. And it's not going to buffer after 9 shots like the D1X. So should you buy the D1X in 2023? I'm going to say yes, because I am an enthusiast and I have a bunch of Nikon cameras and I want to promote the brand from back then. But also I'm going to say a huge no. No, because the amount of battery they take to use, the amount the batteries cost, and the amount the charger costs. So just to keep this running, you guys, is hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars in the long run. It's much easier to buy one of the newer Nikons and the batteries are readily available. I mean, the battery for my D100 was $15 with the charger, and the battery for my D200, I think was $25, and I got a rapid double charger. So it's a huge difference. I would say look at alternatives. But if you get a hold of this camera for a good price and you're an enthusiast, go for it. Thank you guys so much for stopping in. That was just a quick overview of the D1X. To follow is going to be a bunch of pictures and just a little bit of information more about the camera. Any questions, just put them in the comments down below. Thanks for stopping in.